Good evening, folks, and a very, very warm welcome to you to the OZCRO Soccer Show. My name is Taunchi Prusats. I'm the one host or co-host tonight of the tonight's episode, which is in fact episode 73, the 18th episode this year. And joining me on tonight's show as a special guest co-host, all the way from Adelaide, from the City of Churches, it's a very warm welcome. Max Jurkovic. Good evening, Max. How are you?
Good evening, Tonchi. I'm good, thank you. Even better with Adelaide Croatia's winner on Friday night. So,
Yes.
the whole weekend was stress-free. So it's nice to be on board as your co-host for tonight.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, mate. When with Ante Grabovac returning, hopefully next week, I thought, who could I possibly get as a last co-host before Ante returns, and with that thrilling result in Adelaide last Friday night, which we'll talk about at length tonight. I thought none other than Max Jurkovic would be fantastic. And Max, before we go further, to you and to all Croatians all around the world, very, very happy day of victory, homeland Thanksgiving, and Croatian defenders. In other words, Dan pobjede, dan domovinske zahvalnosti, and dan hrvatskih branitelja. And amongst other things, all roads led to Knin over the last few days. And it was great to see the football supporters, the Croatian supporters, uniting and having a street procession. There was the Torcida, the Tornado from Zadar. There's the Ultrasi from Vinkovci. I believe there were small pockets of Cohorte, Bad Blue Boys Armada. The list goes on, but it's great to see that things like this do unite the football supporters in Croatia.
Yes, it's definitely reassuring to see, because there's in the political scene, there's obviously times there where you're thinking we need to show more of our patriotism, and there's nothing better than to see no friction between supporter groups, everyone in unison in supporting Croatia and being proud of our history in Aloja. So they were fantastic scenes, and I keep getting messages from my mates just seeing the scenes over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of football supporters in Croatia, they've got another reason to celebrate, and that is because the Croatian Football League is back in action. It kicked off last weekend. We'll cover that in detail this week as well. The last night as well, the draws were made for the UEFA Europa League and Europa Conference Leagues as well. So the Croatian clubs have found out who their next opponents are. We'll go through all of that as well. But also we've got some great guests on tonight. We'll be catching up with James Sherman. He's the coach of the Glenorchy Knights. They've got a massive game in Sydney tomorrow, and they have just touched down in Sydney. We will be speaking with James from his live from his Sydney hotel. And the Knights are taking on NWS Spirit in the Australia Cup game tomorrow. Max, tough game, a tough ask, but
it's a tough game, Tonchi. But I think that given it's the magic of the cup, and we get to see some heavyweight A-League sides lose to NPL teams, there's no reason why Glenorchy, on the back of their very good form, they can't produce an upset. Maybe not even an upset, but a fantastic result away from home.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'd be great to chat to them. They're having a stellar season, the Glenorchy Knights. They also had a huge win over the weekend against Launceston City in the local competition to stay on top of NPL Tasmania. So, we'll be catching up with him. And also, but before we do that, we'll be catching up with one of your own, Max, the Adelaide Croatia Raiders vice-captain Manly Barnett. And he'll be chatting to us about that game last week, hey?
Oh, he had a fantastic game on Friday, Manly, and he really led that back line the last 10 minutes when we had 10 men. So compared to other players in the team, the club does mean a lot to Manly. Manly's grandfather was twice president of Adelaide Croatia Soccer Club, Rena Martinovic.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. And Manly's father also played for Adelaide Croatia and won a championship there. So when he plays, he wears his heart on his sleeve. So it's going to be really good to talk to him.
Can't wait. Cannot wait for that. We're going to take a very short break, and when we return, it's going to be time to talk the news desk. So, folks, don't go away. A big shout out to our major sponsors, because without them, we would not have Season 3. And it's a big shout out to Living Gems and Gem Life up on the Gold Coast, and to Adrian Pulic and crew. and they've got a big game coming up this weekend. We'll find out all about that in the news desk. Don't go away, folks.
Who's to say who's young, who's old? Compared to who? Age is complicated. You see, most people really stop getting older at age 26, but their bodies just don't get the memo. So, hidden inside most over 50-ish-year-olds is the soul and spirit of a 26-year-old, with the same loves and desires and hopes and dreams, just in slightly different packaging. Why waste time wondering when you could be enjoying? It's your life, and life is what you make it. So, what are you waiting for?
Welcome back to the OZCRO Soccer Show. But before we get into the news desk, about that Australia Cup, let's go through the details there. Tomorrow, 7:30 p.m, kicking off at 7:30 p.m. at Christie Park, NWS Spirit, who did kick out the Sydney United in the New South Wales section of the competition. And they come up against the Glenorchy Knights. Hopefully the Knights can exact a little bit of Croatian revenge on the NWS Spirit. Now, in Tasmania, obviously in Hobart, there will be a watch party going on. The club rooms will be open from 6 p.m. So if you are in the Hobart area, get yourself down to the Glenorchy Knights club rooms. If you are in Sydney or around that area, Wollongong, Newcastle, do make a midweek venture out to Christie Park and support the Knights. Now, speaking of the Australia Cup, last week, obviously, we had the game in Canberra, which we talked about. But this was a great photo, Max, taken by the O'Connor Knights and put up on their social media. The Croatian connection in Canberra. There were 4 players of Croatian extraction in the MacArthur FC starting lineup. So we've got Marin Jakolic, Tomislav Uskok, Ivan Vujica, and I do believe also Matt Jurman as well was in the team, but they joined Alex Trninic, the O'Connor Knights TD, his father and coach Miro Trninic, and Anthony Jagarinec, who we had on the show a few weeks back. He is the O'Connor Knights assistant, but he's also been named the Canberra United women's head coach as well. So, Max, great to see Australian-Croatian connection there in Canberra.
No, it's fantastic. And we know all those players there. They're all proud Croatians. We know that O'Connor had a fantastic season last season as well, and they just missed out on clinching the premiership. From watching the game last week, they really pushed MacArthur, and they cannot be more prouder of themselves. And I'm sure the supporters feel the same way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Good on them. All right, let's talk now the local scene. And as was the case last week, we had 7 winners. Now, let's put that into perspective. There were no games in Victoria because the Dockery Cup final was taking place. So St Albans, Melbourne Knights, Dandenong City and North Geelong all did not play. But these are the winners, and we'll go through that. Well, first of all, the Brisbane Knights, geez, they're having a great season as well. They defeated Western Spirit away from home 5-0. And this week they're taking on Mount Gravatt, who are in 5th position. That game is at the Croatian Sports Centre. But Max, they've got a massive lead, haven't they? They could win.
Look at the table. I think they've got an 8-point gap on second place. So they will just, with 3 games left, I think they just need a draw. But on the back of their form, they should be clinching the league on this weekend. So fantastic achievement, Brisbane Knights. I think it's going to be back-to-back promotion.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's fantastic. And the way the Brisbane Premier League is, it's also, I think, the Football Queensland Division 3 or something like that. So they'll be playing in Division 2, which is 2 tiers below NPL Queensland. So they'll be getting closer and closer to joining the Gold Coast Knights in the Premier competition in Queensland, which is fantastic. Mm-hmm. In the ACT, Canberra, Croatia, they had a very good win. Also away, 3-2 over Tigers FC, and they maintained their second spot. behind Gungahlin United. The O'Connor Knights, they drew with Tuggeranong 2-2. So they remain in third spot. Now, the Modbury Jets will just very, very briefly talk about this. And then, because we've actually got some extended highlights about this, Max. And then, obviously, we're going to talk with Manly Barnett, the vice captain of the Raiders, a little bit later on. But you were there, mate. Tell us all about this game.
Yes, so I was there. I had a bit of belief in me because last week we played Campbelltown, who are one of the premier sides in South Australia, and we matched them for play, probably dominated the first half. Second half, they were a little bit too classy for us in the end. But what we were able to draw from that is confidence we can match it with the best. And then on Friday night, knowing that we're playing up first, is sort of, if we got the result early, then it put more pressure on the two sides below us in Para Hills and Olympic, who currently we're 3 points and 6 goals better than Para Hills, and then 1 point and 17 goal difference better than Olympic, the last game to go. So with this game here, we actually started the better of the two sides. Modbury got a goal against another play to make it 1-0. And to the credit to the team, because they could have dropped their heads, like a lot of teams around the bottom would do, but they showed great character and they got it back to 1-1, maybe 5 minutes after the first goal they conceded. And then just before half time, we made it 2-1. So we had all the momentum in the second half. We got it 3-1. And then in typical Croatian fashion, we make things tough for ourselves, give away a penalty, 3-2, score again, 4-2. And then just as though we look like we're going to have a convincing, comfortable win, one of our players decides to do something stupid with a tackle and he gets a red card straight from that free kick we concede. And then it was just pure defending, pure keeping that kept us in the game to get us a deserved 3 points and what looks to be safety for NPL.
Mathematically, the relegation could happen, but it would have to be something freaky.
Yeah, so don't worry. I've looked at the different ways that we could potentially get relegated, and Olympic play the best side in the state at the moment, Adelaide City, and they got to play them away from home, and they actually have to beat them.
Yep.
Not a draw. They have to beat them. This side just bet Metro Stars 4-0 away from home. So
yeah,
quite confident Olympic don't get the result. And then Para Hills, who hasn't won a game in 5, they've got the bottom side, and they would need to score 6 past them.
Yeah. Highly unlikely. Highly unlikely.
But the players can't step the foot off the pedal. So we want to make sure we beat Adelaide United Youth and potentially finish in front of Belgrade. So
there's a little bit of bragging rights there as well. Okay, let's moving along. Guelda, Croatia, which plays in the Western Australian State League. They had a big win at home against Kingsley, 4-0. They remain in 7th spot. They're safe from relegation. They're 11 points clear of second last place Coburn City. They're set to finish sort of in a mid-table position. South Coast United, after several weeks of losing games, they returned back to the winners list with a 2-1 away win over Port Kembla, and they remain in 8th position. Newcastle, Croatia, they had a big 6-2 win away to Merriweather Athletic, and they remain in 2nd spot, just 1 point behind Stockton Sharks. And this is going to be a real thrilling finale to the Northern New South Wales Zone 2 division.
There's only one team that gets promoted from.
Yeah. It's a bit rough there, isn't it? Because you've had both Newcastle, Croatia, and Stockton Sharks have been just absolute runaway leaders. But look, we had Josh Popescu, the Newcastle Croatia coach, on last week, and that was, by the way, quite entertaining. Coach Cam, we'd never done that before, and it certainly turned out to be quite a hit. But he said that Stockton have got a tough run home, whereas Newcastle Croatia have a relatively easy run home. So they've got a big game, Newcastle, at home to New Lambton Juniors, who are 7th. That's this Saturday at 2:30 p.m. So it's certainly something that they cannot afford to drop any points. And last but not least, Glenorchy Knights, whom we will be speaking to tonight. They had a big 5-2 win over Launceston City at home, or Launceston City as the locals say. They remain in first position. With 5 rounds remaining, it's neck and neck at the top. They are on top with 37 points, 2 ahead of second place South Hobart. And guess what? They play each other next week in round 18, and that's showdown is at KGV Stadium. But in the meantime, the Knights travel to sixth placed Riverside Olympic this Saturday. So there's going to be some big games.
It's good.
Yeah. Let's go have a look through the home games, Max.
Yep. So we've got this weekend, we've got Brisbane Knights playing Mount Gravatt, and that can be obviously for Brisbane Knights to win the championship. So it'd be nothing better than to do that in front of your home crowd. So anyone from Queensland, Brisbane, come on out and support the boys. Canberra, Croatia, they've got Tuggeranong United.
Tuggeranong,
and they've got them, so that would hopefully solidify a top 2 position heading into final series. And then there's 2 massive Victorian games below that, and we've got Melbourne Knights and Dandy playing. And obviously, if you're Melbourne Knights, you'd want to get the win because I think they're 2 points behind Dandy.
Yeah.
And then this is only with 2 games left. And then Dandenong City got a home game against Port Melbourne. So they did. Who did they lose? They lost to. I think Dandy lost last week to one of the bottom sides. So they would want to make sure that they can actually sneak in that top 6. And then Dinamo, they're the form side of the competition. They've won their last 4 games. So they should back themselves in against Green Gully. And I think if they win that, they can actually overtake Green Gully on the ladder.
Yeah, yep.
And then North Geelong, they've got Caroline Springs, George Cross, and obviously heading into next year, they would want to end the season on a high note. So there's no reason why they can't do that. They've definitely been a lot better in this second half of the season. And then Adelaide Croatia, last game of the season against Adelaide United Youth. So anyone in Adelaide, come on out and support Adelaide Croatia because it's going to be a great vibe at the club. Post game, there'll be not celebrations for staying in the league, but there will definitely be a festival-like atmosphere at the club. Yeah. And then South Coast United have Helensworth Thistle. And again, a bit like North Geelong, you always want to end the season strong so you can get that momentum into pre-season and to the early rounds of next year. And then Newcastle Croatia have got New Lambton Juniors. So again, they want to keep the heat at the top of the ladder.
Yeah. Now the teams that do have to travel away, we've got the Gold Coast Knights. They're playing the bottom side, Redlands United. And if last week they got thumped 5-2 by Moreton City Excelsior, so it's the second place team who are really, really desperately fighting for that second position, which will give them a home final. But look, this game, the Knights should win this. They should certainly get a point. They've decreased their lead at the top to 7 points with 2 rounds remaining. They've got an extra game over Moreton City, who are second. So Moreton City do have a game in hand. But a win on Saturday will clinch the championship. So, yeah, if not this week, then the final week. But, yep, you don't want to leave it for the final week. So good luck to the Knights. We certainly hope that they can do the job this week. Sydney United, they travel to 9th placed Western Sydney Wanderers on Sunday at 3 p.m. United are in 5th position at the moment with 3 rounds remaining in the New South Wales competition. Sargent and Hurstville have been doing really well in recent weeks. They've scored some good results, and they travel to 3rd placed Mounties Wanderers. Also, on this is on Saturday at 8 p.m. So 7th versus 3rd. In the ACT competition, as we mentioned, O'Connor Knights, who are 3rd, they travel to bottom side Ugali FC. And that game is on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Over in Western Australia, the Western Knights travel to 3rd placed Fremantle City this Saturday. That game kicks off at 5 p.m. And Guelph, Croatia are away to bottom side Rockingham City in the Western Australian State League. And that game also kicks off at 5 p.m. And last but not least, as we mentioned, Glenorchy Knights travel to the 6th placed Riverside Olympic. Now, why it says 9th there is beyond me. It's a bit of a typo error. It should be 1st. Glenorchy Knights are 1st, and they take on Riverside Olympic at Riverside Olympic. That game kicks off at 4:30 p.m. That brings us up to the end of the Australian-Croatian segment. We're going to take a very, very short little jingle break, Max, and when we return, yes, the Croatian Football League is back. Okay, welcome back to the OZCRO Soccer Show. And as we said, the Croatian League has started and there's already lots and lots of drama, of course, lots of goals and lots of controversy and lots of crowds as well. So let's go through those results, Max, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so Dinamo Zagreb beat Istra 5-0, and I did watch the highlights of that game, and Kulenovic looked very dangerous up forward. He scored 2 goals. Then we had Gorica play Varaždin, and that was 0-0. Rijeka were fantastic as well. They smashed the Lokomotiva Zagreb 4-0. And then probably the upset of the round for me would be Osijek losing to Šibenik 2-1. And then Hajduk in front of a great crowd beat Slaven Belepul 2-1, which was Rakitic's starting debut.
Yeah, Petar Finka makes a comment in the section there. Hi, guys, what a crowd at the Poljud. First start for Rakitic and a wonderful greeting to Croatian Olympic gold medalist Barbara Martic. Yeah, absolutely. Totally true there. That was absolutely incredible. But apart from that, it was quite a disappointing performance by Hajduk. I think they were very lucky. They had a goal that was disallowed.
Yeah,
but they also had, Slaven had a goal that was disallowed, and now it's being. It's interesting because it took 5 minutes for the penalty that Hajduk received for VAR to kind of make the decision. And look, it was a blatant handball, but some will say that his hand was in a natural position. But it's interesting because we now have I think is a Frenchman now who's the head of the referees, like the referees director. So we're expecting changes as far as the referees are concerned, but the same old controversies have reared their ugly head in the HNL. So it's quite a subjective thing, and no matter what you say, no matter what you do, it's just a little bit of there's always going to be controversy, but definitely Dinamo Zagreb. Yes, Steve Škornjak, Dinamo Zagreb did win 5-0. He made a comment there to make sure I mentioned the scores, but that is quite an ominous sign to the rest of the league. And in the meantime, they've also picked up a few more players, but Marko Piazza already showing how he's worth. He was involved in that first assist with Kulenovic scoring a goal, but geez, he's a star player, isn't he, Piazza?
He had a great season at Rijeka last year, and I thought we could have used him a little bit more in the Euros because he's definitely a super talent. So Dinamo's I think Dinamo's the right club for him to get his body right, and hopefully have another really good season and maybe give a bigger European league another crack next year.
Yeah. What else? What else that was quite impressive in that first round were the crowds. Yes, it's summer and it's beautiful conditions, but even then, the crowds were absolutely fantastic. Look at that, 6,000 at the Dinamo game. Mind you, that was in torrential rain. That was there was a torrential downpour, and still 6,000 people turned up to Maksimir, which is fantastic. Disappointing Gorica and Varaždin, of course, but we kind of sometimes don't expect much from those clubs. Rijeka, 3,500, pretty healthy kind of a crowd there. Osijek, of course, great crowd, beautiful stadium, but 6,000 fans who would have been very, very disappointed, very unhappy. And sad to say that Chablina, the Dinamo keeper who's on loan at Osijek, he just two absolute goal-keeping errors, and he earned the wrath of the Osijek fans who booed him at the end of the game. That's not something you want for your first game with your new club, do you, Max?
No. And I did also read that they had 30 shots on goal as well. Yeah. The other, with Šibenik, I think maybe having 4 or 5. So it's not just the keeper, but obviously they would have wanted to get to a winning start because they would back themselves in as a top 4 side this year.
Interestingly, only 26,000 have turned up for the Hajduk Slaven Belupo. It looked absolutely chockers. and they said they were expecting a crowd of 30,000, but obviously quite a fair few people didn't rock up. But nonetheless, 42,000 for 5 games, which is an average of 8,500. That's absolutely fantastic. That is just, I think last year's average for the whole season was about 6,000, so blew that average figure away. But incredible numbers, and it is only going to get more and more exciting. I mean, Šibenik is a crowd pulling club, so obviously promoted this year. They can attract 3,000 to 4,000 on an average. But yeah, look, that was really good. Now let's turn our attention to round 2 fixtures.
So we've got Šibenik playing Slaven Belepul, and that's on Saturday. It'll be shown at 2:30 a.m. And then Sunday, 3 a.m., this is Australia time, Istra playing Gorica. Then Monday, 2:30 a.m., Lokomotiva Zagreb playing against Hajduk Split, which is one of Hajduk Split's bogey teams. Then 5 a.m., Osijek playing Dinamo Zagreb. Osijek would want to have a much better performance against Dinamo Zagreb, or else they'll get taken to the cleaners. And then Varaždin playing Rijeka.
Yeah, all those times are Australian Eastern Standard Time, so obviously make any changes that need to be made. And then last night there were the draws for the UEFA Europa League and the UEFA Conference League. Rijeka obviously will play Elfsborg, the Swedish side, this morning. It's at 4 a.m. And then if they get through to the next round, they've got a reasonable kind of a draw. Third qualifying round in the Europa Conference League. Hajduk Split travel to Slovakia to take on Ružom Berok. That game kicks off at 2:30 a.m. this Friday morning. Then Botev Plovdiv from Bulgaria hosts Zrinski Mostar. That's at 4 a.m. And also at 4 a.m. NK Osijek hosts the Azerbaijani side Zira as well. Dinamo Zagreb obviously come in at the next stage of the Euro Champions League qualifiers. And then all that's left is the BiH Premier League. Max, only 2 games featured. Only 2 of the Croatian clubs were featured. Široki Brijeg defeating Željezničar Sarajevo. That's a big game. I'll watch some of those highlights. 12,000 fans, huge crowd. Great effort by Široki Brijeg. I think it's the first time they've won in Sarajevo in a long, long time. 1-0. Posušje beat Igman from Konjic, 1-0. And Gošk Gabela, they were in action against the newly promoted Radnik Bijeljina, and they unfortunately lost 1-0. But Zrinski Mostar, their game against Doboj has been postponed because of European commitments. So that was that. All right, that leaves us with that's the end of the news desk. We're going to take a short break. When we return, we're going to see some extended highlights of the Adelaide-Croatia Modbury game, Max, and then we're going to be time for our first guest, and that is, who would you...
Manly Barnett.
Yeah, vice captain of Adelaide-Croatia. Folks, don't go away. We'll be back after this very, very short commercial break.
Ready to score big on the global stage? Join Citizen HR for sporting opportunities. Tired of feeling like a stranger in your locker room? Long for a sense of belonging in the global sports community? It's time to consider becoming a Croatian citizen with Citizen HR, your gateway to a second passport for sporting excellence. At Citizen HR, we understand the emotional weight of your athletic journey. It's not just about victories, it's about belonging, security, and a connection to your sporting heritage. Our mission is to make the process of obtaining a second passport for sporting purposes as smooth and stress-free as possible. Access experts who specialize in citizenship via special interest, guiding you through every step. From paperwork to strategy, we're here to ensure you have everything you need. As one user, Kate KC attested easy to use and great selection of experts available. Don't miss out on this game-changing opportunity. Download Citizen HR today and redefine your sports citizenship. So what are you waiting for? Head over to https://citizenhr.app today. Use the code AUSCRO for 50% off any biography translations you order.
Welcome back to the OZCRO Soccer Show. Thank you to everyone in the chat section who is also getting involved tonight. Karl Zivkovic, what would we do without Karl? He says, we play Southern United from Forster tomorrow night in a catch-up clash. That's Newcastle, Croatia. So yes, a big game there for Newcastle, Croatia. A lot of those games earlier in the season were getting washed out. So it's a big sort of an end to the season, that's for sure. Now, Max, you did a fantastic summary of the Adelaide Croatia Raiders and Modbury game. But I'm a visual person, and I like to see a little bit of the visual, as you know well. So for those people like myself, here we've got some extended highlights. Goes for about 4.5 minutes. After that, we will then bring on our special guest for tonight, Adelaide Croatia Raiders Vice Captain Manly Barnett will be joining us.
Welcome back here to the penultimate clash, round 21 fixture in the NPLS 8 between Adelaide Croatia Raiders and Modbury Jets, the home team.
Both sides, they've got lots to play for. Here now in the round 21 fixture. McCabe looks to find McCabe, the brother, flicks over the top and for the ball to the hands of now Makeda picks it up, looks for the dink ball over the top. Skamitzi's onside, tries to go past the keeper, it rebounds to him. Skamitzi gets the early goal here. Little chip over Barbaro and the rebound's deflected nicely. Thompson now looking for Radici. What a touch in behind. He goes for the strike now, Radici, but didn't connect with that one as well as his first touch. Shrugs off the challenge. Still going Kingburn in behind for Anthony Costa. He stayed onside. Anthony Costa! It's an equaliser and his first goal for the season. Anthony Costa, the number 9, that can't be missing the target, and he finds it right there in the bottom corner. There's a couple of players down now as well, but equaliser is still going. It's going to see a good little dribble here. Goes for the shot. Here's a good opportunity for Modbury. They find the reverse pass to Skamitzi, but it's just a bit too ahead of him with that water. And no, Modbury Jets just one ball, and they've taken him all the way. And now the same ball has happened for Oliver Trimboli. 1v1 with Tompkins. Trimboli! He's just gone past the side netting before I thought of it, and that's all you need. Zafaridis goes to that far post. Not it down! I think it's Reece Thompson with his second goal of the season, the youngster. What a header, that's all I said. Put it into a danger area. All you need is a glance. Reece Thompson. Bowley's gone into the box here looking for a cutback. He's found Callum Campbell, but he's to the edge of the box. He's found Makeda all the way on the far left. He's going to take it first time. Takes a second time. Hamish tried. Looks far post. Looks like it was Mullen who was there. And now it's Francesca. It's Liam. He goes 1v1. Dink it into the box. Not a good clearance out to Francesca. Gets a second opportunity at that volley, but only into the keeper's onto that. Finds his opposite in Zafaridis. He puts a better ball in. Back post. Pressure's still on. Loose touch and a late tackle, but Mateo's away here. Might look for feet. Goes himself. Mateo! Straight down the middle of in his career since 2014 at least. Might get a chance to make it 6. Hamish McCabe! What a save from Vinny Barbaro, though. Should have been calling him, but another set piece comes back post. The wall punched out from Barbaro, and the deflection comes in. Still going! It might be deflected in! No. Linesman on the far side's got his flag up, and a lot of protests from the Modbury team, and they're playing. Goes far post. It is Trimboli. What a clearance off the line. That's Daniel DeTroyer, I think. Yep. Right, maybe. Reece Thompson, a bit more skills, and he might have won the penalty. He has. The young man, just as we were saying, who's dictating this game from the midfield at the moment, puts it behind his legs, and Cameron Tompkins. Yeah. Into the back of the net. 3-1 Croatia, and the bench goes wild next to us. And so does Anthony Costa on the far side. He's got a double. And he's on for a memorable hat-trick here now. Him forward to Costa. Radici looks for the chip, but didn't get under that as much as he can. And offside, that's Zafaridis. He floats one in back post. Costa's there. Doesn't get enough on it, though, and Neild claims. Liam McCabe looks for the feet of Hamish. Still going. Might be a handball shout. Liam McCabe. Francesco Skamitzi, and he's gone past the near post. Takes it in front of him. Hamish McCabe tries to cross it in. Late challenge on him, and it's a penalty the other way now. Francesca with a chance to get another one back for Modbury. He goes down the middle, and it's 3-2. Game on here. Ability as well. Big touch there from Tom Kenzie. The back pass is low as well. It's Oliver Trimboli under the keeper! Oliver Trimboli against his old club. Scores the fourth one. Have got about 10 minutes in normal time. The ball's floated in near the keeper. It is in the back of the net. It's Lachlan Wilson, the youngster. Instant impact. At his feet. Plays it back. Wilson, back post. Tatani's into the box. Looks for a strike, still bouncing. Hamish McCabe now with the left foot, deflected. Still going Hamish McCabe. What a save from Barbaro. Full time in this fixture. A famous win for Adelaide Croatia Raiders, taking them out of the relegation spots.
Welcome back here.
Oops, almost put it on to watch it a second time. Gosh, that was thrilling just watching the replay. But those last few minutes must have been real heart in the mouth sort of stuff.
The last 15 minutes or 15 or so minutes when we had 10 men, we were hanging on for our dear life. And to our defence and our whole team's credit, they really held on well. And a shout out to our keeper because he actually made two very good saves, Vinny Barbaro in the last 5 minutes to make us win the game. And you know what? It was a deserved 3 points because despite what the highlights probably show an even game. If you're at the game and you watch the full 90 minutes, we were in complete control for 80 minutes of the game.
Well, if it was tense watching it, either live or replay, wonder what it was like from the players' point of view. Let's find out. And it's a warm welcome to the vice captain of Adelaide Croatia Raiders, Manly Barnett. Manly, thank you for joining us here on the OZCRO Soccer Show.
No, thanks for having me.
How was it, first of all? I mean, obviously, thrill of the win, and it meant so much. But as Max said, that last 15 minutes, that was really tense kind of football. But how did you guys on the field experience it all?
No, it was a great night. Even before the game, the vibes were high. Everyone was really up for it. And then, as soon as kickoff went, we were all switched on and ready to go. I thought we had, control in the first half, keeping possession, moving it around them real nicely. And then when they had it, they were only really sort of going long for their main opportunity. So we felt comfortable, and it was, obviously good to get a few in the first half and go in with the lead. And then, second half, got a few more, which was great. And then, obviously having the red card and conceding two, made for a nervous ending. But, credit to the boys. We were pretty disciplined the whole game and, held them out for the 3 points.
Manly, what did Vlado say after the game or on training on Monday? Because I reckon that last 15 minutes to hold on, especially after our run of form, maybe the last 7-8 weeks, that showed tremendous character. And it looked like a team that bought into each other and definitely buys into the coach.
Yeah, for sure. Even after the game, obviously we were ecstatic with the performance. But Vlado's message started from, after the game, and similar was on Monday night about, obviously it's a great win. He's happy for all of us, but until we're mathematically safe, can't rest on our laurels. Making sure this week we're fully focused to get a result against United and then, hopefully see the season out from there.
And speaking of Adelaide United, I mean, obviously it's a younger team, the youth team there as well. But playing on your home turf, how have you approached so far this week? How have you approached or planning to approach Friday night's game? What nights are training, by the way? Did you train tonight or?
Nah, we trained on the Monday. We'll do tomorrow night, Wednesday night, dinner at the club, and then all set for Friday night, which should be a good crowd with the Friday night dinners going on. Our approach has just been, obviously making sure that this Adelaide United team, they're young, they're energetic, they've been scoring, I think, 3-4 plus goals in their last sort of 7 games. So obviously they're going to come out firing, and they've got players from their A-League side as well that'll be playing. So, for us, it's just make sure we're fully switched on and, we're ready for a tough game because, we're looking for 3 points.
Yeah. Max?
So, Manly, so what's the vibe like now after the win? Like, has it changed since Friday night, or you've always had that inner belief that the win was going to come?
I think it's been a tough sort of second half of the season. Obviously, yeah, not getting the results we've wanted to for a while. Yeah, I guess there was a bit of lack of confidence within the group. Not so much we had the talent there. It's just trying to tweak little problems and things like that. And, week after week, not getting a result. It's tough. Come to training each week and trying to turn it around. So, yeah, getting that win was just a massive relief, I think, and pressure off everyone's shoulders. And this week, yeah, there's been a bit more positivity amongst the group. Boys finding a bit more confidence. And, yeah, I guess that sets us up for a great last game of the season.
Now, it was a great start to the season, newly promoted, and the first few games in particular, I think it was 3 or 4 wins out of the first 4 or 5 games or something like that. What happened as the season progressed? The wheels sort of started to fall. Were the other teams just starting to settle a little bit better? Well, what do you put down to that kind of mid-season to late season sort of fall from that early season, I guess, high?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, started off amazing. We were playing some really great football. And each team that we took on, we thought, wow, we can really take it to any team of the comp here, no matter where they're sitting on the table. We were confident to go in and get 3 points every time. So, yeah, going from that, feeling great, playing great football, and then, yeah, started to get a few results, draws and losses sort of towards the start of the second half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't sort of panic stations or anything. We were still confident in our ability and what we can do on the park. But, yeah, in some games, it just came down to some individual key moments that, cost us 3 points or even a draw in the end. And when they start to accumulate, yeah, I guess things don't go your way. And then, yeah, it starts to snowball from there. So, each game, you could say, got a little bit harder to find our confidence, find our feet, still have the belief that we can go and create chances and score goals. So it was tough from that point of view. But still, I give credit to the boys because despite the results, every week we're putting in on the training ground. We're trying to fix issues. We're doing everything we can to turn it around. And, yeah, I'm just happy for the boys and for the coaching staff that we finally could on Friday night in front of a great crowd.
Yeah.
And Tonchi, just to add on, even our form slump in the second half of the year, we've never been smashed or thrashed. We've always, in every single game, and we can agree to this, we've been competitive. It's just been lapses of concentration, maybe a couple of missed chances here and there. For example, you remember the Belgrade game, it was very even and we probably should have got a result there. And it just, if you don't take your chances, other teams will punish you.
Yeah.
And
I guess
accumulate.
Yeah, it's a good point, Max, you make. And I guess all leagues are like that around the world. For newly promoted sides, one of the key achievements is just to maintain a spot in that elite division. And I guess it's no difference in the South Australian NPL competition. But I guess it's all character-building stuff, isn't it, Manly? And I guess this augurs well for next year because it's quite a young side, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. This group, they sort of started together mostly about 2-3 years ago now when Croatia were originally relegated to the second division. And from there, we started with a young group. They've come through our ranks, and for the last 2-3 years, they've just been building, gaining experience, and it helps having the grand final and the pressures of the final series last year, getting promoted, winning. That obviously gave the boys a massive boost, and then this year again playing some top class opposition and every game, just seeing these boys develop. It's exciting, and despite the way the second half of the season's been, I'm pretty optimistic for the next 2-3 years going forward and what we can achieve. So.
Yeah. And mate, you're part of the leadership group, obviously being the vice president. I mean, maybe one day you may well be the vice president. Who knows? Following the family footsteps. But you were a vice captain, and how did you kind of approach it with particularly some of the other younger players or the players that would fall out of confidence as the season progressed? Because, as you said, a lot of work must have been done behind the scenes to really stay in focus and stay in touch. And full credit to you guys. You have done it. You have managed to do it.
Yeah, for sure. It just comes down to, starting again each Monday night at training. Despite the result, you just put your head down and you make sure you work. And the things that Vlado wants us to work on, it's just making sure we're putting in during the week. Because if you're not putting in during the week, then there's no point on Saturday. It's just head down, bum up each week. And with every game that comes, players will grow and develop. And in high pressure moments, you either sink or swim, and our players have done well and stuck it well throughout. So
absolutely fantastic. Max, you got any more questions for Manly?
Yeah, so drawing on to the early season form and going back to our win against Belgrade, how much does a game like that, given that's like a grand final to us, come into place when we're 4-3 up against Modbury, 10 minutes to go, everything's to play for? How much do you draw confidence that you've done it before?
Yeah, for sure. Like that Belgrade game at the start of the year, that was probably one of the biggest fixtures I've played in. If you put aside grand finals, that was probably one of my favourite games I've played in. And the pressure in that game, we were 2-0 up, flying, doing well. And then again, same thing, they hit one back, and then they get another, they equalise, and then you got all their fans getting up and about. And it's a high pressure moment again. It's can you hold on? Can you go out still and find the winner? And again, in that moment, we did. I think it was like the last 2 minutes of the game, we went on and scored, and that was one of our young players themselves. Again, that's a massive confidence booster. And then again, when they step into moments like this where our backs are up against the wall, they can still find the way. They can draw on those past moments and honestly become a bit more relaxed, which helps.
That's experience, yeah.
That is experience, absolutely, gents. That's a very good point. Now, Manly, for those that don't know, you've got a real strong family connection to the club, to the Adelaide Croatia Raiders. Tell us a bit about that and what it means for you to don on the famous red, white and blue each week.
Yeah, it's an honour. My whole family's sort of been through the club, starting from my grandfather, who helped build the club back in the early days. Was on the committee and things like that. And then
your grandfather's name was?
Reno Martinovic. So that's
very famous name in Adelaide. Very famous name.
That's where the Croatian last name comes from my mother's side. So you don't see that with mine here. But yeah, he's probably the main reason I've always wanted to come play for Raiders, was to make him proud. I was a junior at other clubs that were just more local to me and nearby. But over all those years, he was always telling me, when are you coming? Are you coming this year? You're coming. And then, finally, I was happy enough to come over in the last 3 years. So, it's been a joy. So I got my father as well that played at the club. He won a championship there as well. And we're all life members there. And even on the Friday nights, as a teenager growing up, I was working in the kitchen there and with some of the past and some present players now. So always been in and around the club. Oh,
fantastic. What was your father's name?
Michael Barnett.
Michael Barnett, another famous name around Adelaide Croatia circles. Mate, thank you so much for joining us on the OZCRO Soccer Show. We wish you all the very, very best for this Friday night. And it's going to look, as Max said, it's going to be quite a festive feel about the night, and especially if we can get a good result, and I'm sure you guys can.
No, for sure, it's going to be a great game, and hopefully I'll see you guys at the Crow tourney as well this year.
Yeah, look forward to it. Absolutely look forward to it. Good on you, Manly. Take care.
All the best, Manly.
See you later.
Very, very, very nice, down to earth, humble bloke, and it's just a joy to chat to him.
And like I said, when you watch him play, he wears his heart on his sleeve. So what you get here is what he shows on the field, and that's why we love him at Adelaide Croatia.
Awesome. All right, we're going to take a very short commercial break, folks. When we do return, it's going to be a time for our second guest, a very special guest from the Apple Isle. He's the coach of the Glenorchy Knights, and boy, have they got a big game tomorrow night in Sydney, and we'll find out all about that after this short break, folks. Don't go away. It is the OZCRO Soccer Show.
Who's to say who's young, who's old? Compared to who? Age is complicated. You see, most people really stop getting older at age 26, but their bodies just don't get the memo. So, hidden inside most over 50-ish-year-olds is the soul and spirit of a 26-year-old, with the same loves and desires and hopes and dreams, just in slightly different packaging. Why waste time wondering when you could be enjoying? It's your life, and life is what you make it. So, what are you waiting for?
Yes, a big thank you, and we acknowledge our major sponsor, Living Gems and Gem Life, the Gold Coast-based firm. All righty, it's time to bring our next guest on, and it's an absolute pleasure to welcome to the OZCRO Soccer Show, all the way from Hobart in Tasmania, but he's in Sydney at the moment, James Sherman, the coach of the Glenorchy Knights. James, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, guys. Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure, mate. How was the trip, first of all, from Hobart to Sydney today?
It couldn't have been any smoother. Yeah, we've had an excellent day. We had a training session early this morning. So the boys had a light run and we went over some finer details for an hour and then sorted ourselves out and got on a midday flight from Hobart. And, yeah, we arrived just before 2 o'clock this afternoon and settled into the hotel, and the boys are relaxing now.
Now, apart from obviously travelling interstate for a football match and staying in a hotel tonight, you really would have felt like a professional club, obviously having that early morning training session, the boys not having to worry about work or any other commitments. How did they take it all in? Did they really just enjoy the whole experience from the training to the airport to the travel and all of that? How did they find it?
Yeah, so I mean, it was the players that made the decision to travel up today. So we, essentially could have arrived tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But as a group, we felt it would give us a better chance of performing well. So, yeah, the guys have all organised themselves to have time off work or school. And then, that little bit extra of, we trained Monday night as well, and then doing a little bit more on Tuesday morning just to get a feel, especially of an artificial surface. That's what our home ground is, an artificial surface. And it's the same at Christie Park. Yeah, so those small little details, the guys are more than happy to put that effort in. And fingers crossed it comes together and helps us play well tomorrow night.
And James, how are we looking from a squad perspective? We've got a full-strength side heading into the game?
Yeah, look, we're in a good space. I mean, other than it's the second game in 3 or 4 days and the standard issues that can bring. We're in a good place. Everyone's up and about. We've got the full contingent there, just about. Certainly, no excuses on our end.
Yes, and you've definitely got momentum behind you as well. I can see that the last 5 games we've had 5 wins.
Yeah, look, we're in a nice bit of form. I think the most pleasing thing from our aspect is that we've started to build a nice bit of rhythm, especially with the ball. We're starting to really put some good attacks together, and we're able to spend a fair bit of time in opposition halves, and that leads to obviously goals, and we're starting to capitalise on the chances that we create. I mean, we're expecting a different sort of challenge tomorrow night. I think the difference in Tassie NPL and New South Wales NPL is considerable, but that's not something that we're shying away from. It's a challenge that we welcome, and like I said, a handful of times we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, we saw some photos there from the weekend game. A good win on the weekend, 5-2 against Launceston City. And then this week, a big game against Riverside Olympic, who, even though they're 60, can't afford to drop any points. But then the big game in 2 weeks' time against the second place South Hobart. That's another big game. So how hard or how easy is it to keep the boys' minds focused on the here and now and not worry about something that's going to be happening in a couple of weeks' time that will determine the season?
Yeah, well, that's exactly right, Tonchi. So, I mean, a good example is the performance that we put out on Saturday just gone. Launceston City are a good side and they're well coached. They knocked off South Hobart already twice this year, once in the Cup and once in the league. So they're not a side to be taken lightly. And we put out a really, really strong performance against them on the weekend. And I think we are able to do that because we really gave them our full focus. Of course, there were some elements to preparation that were done beforehand that now come into play for tomorrow. But I think that's why we've been a consistent side, is because we only really focus on what's right in front of us. And certainly before South Hobart, we'll be focusing 100% on Riverside, but that won't happen until we get tomorrow out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you scouted NWS Spirit? Have you spoken to anyone from maybe Sydney United who played them? Do you know much about the opposition?
Look, the benefits now of YouTube are fantastic. So, I've had no excuse to not have a proper look at them. Another benefit that we've had is obviously the infrastructure in the NPL New South Wales is pretty decent. So the camera angles, especially at Christie Park, are more than reasonable to get a good look at a game. They look a good team. Like I think David has, put together a really well organised side, and they certainly try to move the ball in some really clever and smart ways. And we're going to need to be bang on it in terms of our discipline and our decision making defensively tomorrow, and that's a challenge. And I'm looking forward to it, and I think the players are too.
And James, what type of performance are we going to expect from Glenorchy? Are we going to expect a counter-attacking game or an attacking game with no fear, or just no change from how you've played in the NPL?
Yeah, we certainly won't alter too much from what we sort of put out every week. Look, my main thought is if we were to sit back and really park the bus, that's something that we don't ever do. So we'd be moving away from what makes us a good side. And I certainly have a feeling that we need to stick to who we are, and who we are is a side that tries to get into games and really finds the moments to influence and control the opposition. So we're going to look to do those sorts of things. I think we have to accept that there are going to be moments where we suffer, probably for periods of time longer than we're used to. But in regards to what the team's like, they've got an excellent mentality, and they're a special group. They've had plenty of moments of adversity and tough moments this year, and we've come back in big games, and we've stayed ahead in big games. And I think that'll give us a good opportunity tomorrow to find those moments, and hopefully we take some of them.
Yeah, and I think we see that a lot in the Australia Cup, and even like more broadly throughout the whole world of football, that it's not always a team that's expected to win they'll win those cup games. Like we've seen here in Australia that A-League sides lose to NPL teams, and those NPL teams don't come out to just park the bus. They give it as good as they can get. So to hear that from like a supporter's perspective is so reassuring to know that we're going to show no fear. We're going to give it our best shot, and what happens, happens.
Look, certainly I've been at the club now for 6 years. Well, I've been the NPL coach for 6 years and at the club for 8. I don't think you can manage a Croatian team and not try and win the game. You've got to try and win the game. And obviously there are many ways to do that. I found that I get an easier time in the clubhouse afterwards if we try and win the game by scoring more goals than the opposition. And so, that's what we try and do most weeks. Look, and sometimes we don't manage to do it. But I think certainly this year in particular, we've been a really good, entertaining team to watch. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I need results to keep my job, but I want to stand on the side and enjoy watching the group. And so far, I'm getting enjoyment from it. I hope the supporters are as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's certainly been from a distance. It's been really entertaining watching you guys do very well this year and following the fortunes, and that's been quite enjoyable. But something else that must be quite enjoyable for you personally and for everyone at the club is the amount of media publicity that the club is getting now as well. Apart from obviously the OZCRO soccer show earlier tonight, you were featured on the Win News down in Tasmania as well. So the captain Tyler Harrison, as well as yourself, caught up with reporters before you travelled to Sydney. How's that feel, that vibe, the excitement that's slowly been building ahead of tomorrow night?
Look, it's a bit of a mixed bag, if I'm honest. So personally, there's some real frustration that it takes this type of game to get any media attention.
Yeah, good point. Yeah,
I think Hobart in particular, the media don't do enough to support the game, and we're not talking about a game that doesn't have much relevance. The participation is commonly known. You've only got to look at the amount of YouTube views that are on most live streams and the amount of views that are on interviews post-game to see that there's a market for it. And I don't think the local media in Hobart do enough. So that's where there's some frustration. But then when you do get those opportunities, it's great. The best bit about it is that now the supporters and the young players at the club and those that are looking for a pathway, into football, get to see what your opportunities potentially are, things like this Australia Cup. And that's a good thing. It's just a shame that it only comes around sporadically.
Yeah. Are you hoping that this exposure and this publicity as well will lead to Glenorchy Knights becoming a bit of a destination club for some of the, the talented young players coming up through the ranks at Tasmania. Have you already had sort of inklings of potential players wanting to come over for next season and things like that?
Look, we certainly haven't had any problem recruiting some good players. We put a lot of work in to make sure that, as an example, we've got a couple of boys one from WA and one from Victoria as well.
Mm-hmm.
We make sure that sort of how we present the club and what we can manage to provide for players is more than just a football experience, and we've managed to do that well. That there's a culmination of things that accrue to that. There's an excellent board, and the supporters are fantastic, and then obviously, your sponsors and things like that. Everyone really pitches in to make that such a success. In regards to the local players, look, it's a little bit hit and miss. I think because Hobart's such a small community in particular, it can be quite parochial, and obviously some loyalties run quite deep. But no, I think we're starting. This certainly won't help us in regards to people who are starting to see Glenorchy Knights or a football club that certainly has a long history of being a strong club, but certainly in the modern era now starting to become a powerhouse locally, which is good.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, mate, we wish you all the very best for tomorrow. Hopefully we can get a good result, and then hopefully there can be a lot of members of the Croatian community from Sydney, Wollongong, Newcastle, even as far as Canberra can descend down upon Christie Park and make it almost a home away from home for you guys. And hopefully that support will get you over the line as well. And it would be great to have a round of 16 game in Hobart. I was watching the travel guides the other day, and they did some feature on Tasmania. I thought, geez, I'd love to go to Tasmania. I've never really been, and I think this might be the excuse to get the permission from the missus to head down south and take in a game. Wouldn't that be good?
Absolutely. I mean, you can't go wrong. Happy wife, happy life, as they say.
Look, well, there you go, guys. Yeah, there's a lot at stake now. You got to make my wife happy, so you got to win for her.
Look, if we get through, absolutely, a home tie would be fantastic.
Yeah, wouldn't it
We've
be
also
great?
We've also got some bumper games, and they're home games for us. We play all the sides around us in the league that are still in contention to win it all at home. So. If anyone fancies a quick trip down to Hobart to watch a good game of football and in the newly renovated clubhouse with a bit of a buzzing atmosphere, come along.
Absolutely.
James, is there final series as well in the NPL Tasmania, or is it first post?
They had them last year, but it's once again, they have it one year, they don't have it next. So it's a case of first past the post.
First past the post, yep. Awesome. All right, mate. Well, the destiny is certainly in your hands as far as the local competition is concerned, and also as far as the national competition is concerned. James, thank you for joining us on the OZCRO Soccer Show. All the very best for tomorrow night.
Thank you, gents.
Good on you.
All the best.
James Sherman there from the Glenorchy Knights. What a lovely, lovely person to chat to as well. All right, we're going to take a very short break, and when we return, it'll be time to start wrapping things up here on the OZCRO Soccer Show. Before we go, just more details about that Glenorchy Knights versus NWS Spirit clash tomorrow night. That kicks off at 7:30 p.m. If you are in the Sydney area or planning to come to Sydney, it's at Christie Park, I should say. You can get the tickets. I suppose you can get tickets at the ground. If you're in Hobart, around that area, do go to the Glenorchy Knights club rooms. They'll be open from 6 p.m. For the 7:30 kickoff. And make sure otherwise you're tuning into 10 Play and able to watch it. I've got it on the other screen at the moment. And South Melbourne, Hellas, are leading Wellington 1-0, and they've gone 76 minutes. I'm not sure if you've got any of the other scores as well. Have you got any of these other scores?
Might quickly check for you.
Yeah, quickly.
I think Modbury, who we played last Friday, they got Fitzroy Serbia. So it's 1-1 between Melbourne Serbia and Modbury. So hopefully Modbury get up.
Melbourne victory 4 over Lambton Jaffers 1 at the moment. and Edgeworth and Olympic Kingsway from WA. It's 1-1 as well. So a few games happening there as well. Now, also before we go, the tournament gala night details were released this week. So it's on Saturday, the 28th of September at 6:30 p.m. At the Aha de Melbourne Prostoria, the club, the hall there at 72 Whitehall Street. A limited number of tickets. The ticket does include dinner and 5-hour drinks package, and it is celebrating the 50 years of the Croatian Soccer Association. It's $155 per person. Bookings are essential. The details there are in entertainment at cst2024.com.au. That's the email. Or contact Lucy on 0435 680 273. So there's some really, really important. If you're planning on going to the gala night, make sure you get yourself down there as quickly as possible. It would be very, very good to do so now, because tickets will sell out very quickly. Max, thank you for joining us in the co-host chair tonight. Really enjoyed your company, and we look forward to having you maybe on before the end of the season to talk a little bit more about what is going on at Adelaide, Croatia.
No worries, Tonchi. Thank you for having me as the co-host. I really enjoyed it, and fingers crossed that we get a win on the weekend and on Friday night. And when I speak with you next, I'll give you the rundown of how it is in Adelaide.
Absolutely. We might even get you on the show next week just to give us a quick rundown. All right, folks. With that is the end of this week's episode of the OZCRO Soccer Show, and we leave you with memorable scenes from Knin in Croatia during the week when it was the celebration of the Day of Victory, Homeland Thanksgiving, and the Croatian Defenders Day, when several different supporters groups, Croatian football supporters groups, all came together in the name of national unity. Good night, folks. Bye-bye.
Hrvatska se naokranila, Hrvatska bija